There we go. So there is a difference. The reason that I asked the poll in the beginning to talk about career planning is because most people don't have a career plan. However, you actually do if you are working in a job. So you do to a certain extent, maybe not to a long-term extent. So there is a difference between career planning and career management. Career planning can start as young as 3 years of age. So if you think about people like Tiger Woods, they came out of the womb with a golf club attached to them. That destiny was already happening at that point. So that happens with a lot of extraordinarily talented people. They just know that this is what they're going to be when they grow up. Many of us don't. The majority don't. Some of us fall into it. Others, it takes parents and watching their children as they go through life, finding out what they're attracted to do, right? What are their natural talents and abilities? And then if you've got great parents, they will guide you to help you build those interests into really remarkable skills and capabilities, and therefore you've got your career. Many of us on this call today are falling into allied healthcare worker because it just made sense for the next thing to do, because that's what the market is commanding. Whatever it is, it's important to understand career planning is about what you want to do. Career management is how you're going to get to the ultimate end goal. So if you're a medical assistant, you may want to be the best medical assistant in the world. And your goal is to make sure that you're a medical assistant working with the best people and the best facilities. However, if you want to say long-term, I want to become an LVN or an RN, that's career management. So you then start working on where you work, who you work with, the facility that you're in, and to get you to that end game. Today, we're going to be talking about career planning, which means that you've selected the pathway through Futuro Health as to where you want to start your career. How do you plan it from here? Future sessions, we're going to be talking about career management. That's a whole different conversation, but you need to keep both those words always in the back of your mind. So back to you, Coach Cisco.
Thank you, Lee. Next slide, please. So today, guys, I'm going to be giving you two brief stories of two Futuro Health scholars that we've worked with, whom we also think, their stories are very valuable, and that will definitely go ahead and share it with you guys. First person that we want to talk about is Anjanette Morgan. She is a certified nursing assistant, and she works at Cedars-Sinai. She's also a certified phlebotomist. So Anjanette she's been a CNA for over 12 years. Recently, she became a phlebotomy graduate from Futuro Health, where she also serves as an ambassador for Futuro Health. Her decision to pursue the phlebotomy stemmed from an incident that she actually had at work, where she actually identified someone having a stroke, strung into action. And with that experience, she basically thought to herself, like, what can I do to expand my horizons? So Anjanette decided to go back to Futuro Health, decided to take, another course, which is the phlebotomy. She's still employed at Cedars-Sinai, as most of you guys know, if you guys do live in the LA area. Cedars-Sinai is a very prestigious facility here in Los Angeles, and she's been working there for over 10 years, and she's now working in their phlebotomy department. So kudos to Anjanette for her success story. Next slide, please. All right, perfect. Now, the next person that we're going to be talking about, Melinda Silva, she's actually been with Allied Up from the very, very first beginning. Melinda's journey first belonged with Allied Up when she became a medical assistant. Throughout her time, Melinda, she had the ambition that she wanted to pursue more for her career. So as a Futuro Health scholar, she actually went back and decided to become a LVN with the support from the Ed Fund program, which most of you, if you guys actually talk to us, we do give you some extra information on the Ed Fund. So after this call, if you guys want more information about that, I'll be more than happy to share that. Fast forward to 2024, Melinda, she proudly serves as a full-time LVN now here with Allied Up, and she holds a very respected position as a board member with us here. So again, also kudos to both of these individuals, Anjanette Morgan and Melinda Silva, for, doing what they had to do to, be successful in their career. Next slide, I'm going to be going ahead and passing it over to Coach Krista, where she's going to go ahead and share with you guys some valuable information. Krista, to you, please.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Francisco and Lee, for that helpful info. Today, I'm going to be talking to you all about career planning step one, which is defining what you can and want to do. So this is going to go over some things that you want to consider when you're defining what you can and want to do. So what are your academic strengths and weaknesses? What did you excel at during school? What was challenging for you? This is going to help you determine what progression in education is best for you and what you can handle. Personal strengths and weaknesses are just as important. So, consider as the academics, how do you handle emergencies and crisis situations? Are you good in fast-paced environments? What skills do you currently excel at that you want to expand on? And then what are you interested in? Do you prefer patient front roles or are you more interested in the technical aspect of healthcare? Are there certain specialties or certain populations that you want to work with? These are all really important things to consider when defining what you want to do. What are your goals and aspirations? How far do you want to go with your education? Do you want to work in government? Do you want to work in private healthcare? What does that look like for you? And what kind of work schedule best fits your needs? Certain specialties in healthcare have different common schedules, so that's also important to consider as well. So I'm going to actually show you all a really helpful tool called ONET Online. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just let me know when you all can see it. And while I'm sharing my screen, could someone in the chat share what their next career progression is? Just a job title that you're working towards after your Futuro Health education. And I cannot see the chat, so if my fellow coaches could let me know.
Yep, I don't see anything in here so far. And
You're
it looks like we've got a couple of people in the waiting room, and I don't know why they're not being admitted, but just know, Maria and Michael, I'm trying desperately to get you in.
Yeah, it says admitting on my end too. So it
Yeah,
could be
all right, let's keep rolling.
All right. So I know a lot of my medical assistant graduates are looking to go into nursing. So I think the most, next step in that would be LVN. I hear a lot of you all want to go into LVN. So I'm going to show you, you can look up um, the specialty that you're interested in. And then it's going to show you all of this amazing information. It's a bright outlook career, which means, it's growing. There's demand for this. It'll show you the type of tasks that you would be performing every single day. This is also, you guys hear me now? Are we
I can
good?
hear you now. Yes.
Okay. This is also helpful information for your resume. You don't know what to put on your resume for job descriptions. If you go and look at the medical assistant page for this as well, you can get some really helpful info on that. Technology skills. I really like that it shows what are hot technologies for this specialty. So you can see, these are things that maybe you consider taking a course in before you start out in your career to help you get that advantage. Types of work activities, context. If you don't like being on the telephone, this is probably something you should consider because 84% of people responded that they do this every single day. So just helpful information for you to determine what kind of career path you want to take. There's also info about what the education requirements are and how long it takes. There's a tool on here where you can search, training credentials for this, and also a link to apprenticeship.gov, which will show you different internships. So it's important to find out, will your school provide externship or is it something you need to find on your own? Or, do you want to do volunteer work, that sort of thing? Because on the job, hands-on training is very valued in this industry, which I'm sure you all know. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint to share just a little bit more. Lee, if you could pull it up for me. All right, so if we can go to the next slide. Okay, so career planning step two. So you can use ONET for this as well. Determine your training and certification needs. So now that you've determined what you can do and what you want to do, let's find out how to execute that. So, Find out what training and education you need. Find out what school you want to go to. Compare this to your academic strengths and weaknesses that you looked at in step one. You don't want to set yourself up for the best success. If you're not strong suit in math, don't do something that's heavy in math, that sort of thing. What kind of certifications and licenses do you need? There are lots of different certifying bodies. Do your research on what the most popular, certifications, most in-demand certifications are for your area. They have state level, national level, and other extra certifications like CPR, AED, basic life support, that kind of thing. It's all really important to consider. What kind of professional development do you need? If your next goal is LVN, what is it going to take to get to RN? It's really important to start mapping that out and see what your goals are for the next few years. And how will you gain that experience? Does your school provide that externship? If not, are there externships available in your area? And you can also consider volunteering community work as well. So now I'm going to pass this over to Lee, who's going to talk about a really amazing program through CalGrows. Lee, to you.
Does anybody know what CalGrows is? If so, either unmute yourself or share it in the chat. Anybody at all, CalGrows? I don't see anybody typing. So you may remember that if we've had a pandemic, right? So there were a lot of people who needed care in their home. And it also turned out that a lot of people didn't have work and wound up taking care of family members or other individuals that were very near and dear to them. So what CalGrows realized is that we needed to train. California realized that we needed to train individuals how to take care of other human beings beyond the basics of making sure that they are fed. So there's all kinds of personal care requirements, there's safety considerations, and there are medical needs for that individual that is being taken care of by a loved one or another type of caregiver. CalGrows realizes that if we can keep the elderly home, if we can keep people who need at home, instead of putting them in a different type of a facility, it saves money and it saves a lot of stress for the economy and the individual. So what they do is they pay to train. While you are getting trained to be an in-home care provider, this CalGrows program will pay you to learn how to do that. So now you're getting compensated for the work that you're doing to stay home, and you're also building your portfolio of healthcare. So that's an allied healthcare worker, somebody who takes care of these individuals who need that care. So if you're interested in that, in addition to whatever program you graduated from within Futuro Health, call Futuro Health and see if you qualify for this CalGrows program. You never know, right? So that's that. Back to you, Krista.
All right, I believe we can go to the next slide, which is to Kirsten.
Thank you. Next step in your career planning is selecting the practice and facility that you want to work in. You've gone through, you've gotten your certification, you're starting to plan out kind of what your next step is in your career, and then trying to decide where you'd like to work with. And so, I hear a lot when I talk to people that they want to work at union places such as Kaiser and like Dignity and Sutter, which are great, but you also need to be able to have that flexibility to know that, some of those positions do require you to have, so much of experience. So being able to be flexible in your plan, to know what your end goal is, but also to be able to have that idea that you're not always going to get specifically to the facility you want as soon as you graduate. Being able to know your long game, but being able to know what you need to do to get there is very important. So being able to understand what type of demographics or people you like to work with. If you like to work with them, the more of an older, the elderly senior care, that is something that you would probably start looking into more like senior living facilities and different facilities that work with that type, that generation. If you really want to work with children, you might look into pediatrics. If you really want to work with underserved populations and like maybe homeless or people low SES, that is another thing for you to be aware of. And also knowing, what type of demographics might be too stressful. I mean, burnout is real, especially in healthcare. So, I used to be an educator and working with special needs, and I did for 12 years, and I totally had burnout. And, being able to recognize that within, going into the facility and practice and the people that you're going to work with will help you in the long run to have kind of a long, flourishing career. And there's no problem with being able to try something out and that's not working for you. And so let's look at a different avenue. Another with your search, with your finding your practice facility is knowing the different job titles that different companies use. I was very surprised when I first started this job that phlebotomy is not widely used in every single company. Kaiser calls them laboratory assistants. So being able to do your research and know that there are different job titles that different companies use, and being able to just do being able to do a job search and know alternative job titles. And I know the coaches and I, for several different positions, we do have a list of alternative, alternative job titles that companies use. So that's something you could also reach out with when you're having, issues with your job search or want support with that. Next slide, please, Lee. And so if anybody in the chat could put down, like, what do they feel is the hardest thing about your job search, or unmute yourself and let us know. There's several things. We have so many lists up here, but I just want to really quickly kind of check in and see, where people are thinking is the hardest part of the job search. Is it finding the job sites that have the jobs? Is it the actual application itself? Is it being able to present yourself in a cover letter? So I'll just give you a quick second to either unmute or put in the chat to be able to, kind of see gauge where the room is. Kind of while people are, typing or, getting your thoughts together, it is really important. I've seen this trend lately, and we discussed this, the coaches and I have discussed, several months ago, a cover letter was not really needed when you're applying for jobs. And now we're constantly seeing that being a requirement when applying for jobs. So being able to have your cover letter, just having just a template ready to go, being able to kind of just change a few things to be specific to that job, but, taking that stress off, having your resume and a cover letter and your, email subject line ready to go. Really does help, because we're finding that a lot of jobs within 3 days of them being posted, the recruiter's probably already gotten their group of people that they're moving on forward with. So being able to be, pretty much, expediting your application instead of waiting until the weekend, probably getting it done that night is something that would actually improve your chances of making sure you have your resume and cover letter all together. And that really does help make sure that you're organized, but it also makes sure that there's less stress going into that application because you already have all of your information together. Being able to try to reach out to people, hiring managers, if you have a response email that they've received your application, being able to respond and thank you so much, I'm looking forward to speaking with you. So they actually know that you are communicating and you're on top of that. That's something that really does, give you a really heads up when you're talking to recruiters or hiring managers. Setting up job alerts on job boards. Like I said, within 3 days, typically the recruiter has moved on from their application centers, going forward with their candidates. So having job alerts set up to tell you the day that they're posted or as soon as they're posted really does help you get organized. And just having a system set up really does help you be more successful. Just anytime in a job, you're looking for a job just sometimes does feel like a job. And so being able to have a system set up and your time management set up really does set you up for success and less stress, because it is stressful to find a job. I think everybody that I've talked to on this call, we all know it's stressful. So just trying to be able to manage your time in a way to make sure that you're successful and that you are not getting burned out really does help. And then the last one is really important, knowing your salary requirements, what you want to be making and what you feel with your background that you should be making is really important. And knowing that before you go into an interview is definitely important, because when you go into an interview, you're interviewing them as well as them interviewing you. And if the salary doesn't align, you're just wasting your time and theirs, and being able to know when to walk away. There's nothing wrong if it's going to be a pay, decrease in what you're currently making and you can't swing it, then there's nothing wrong with saying, I need to walk away from this job, job post, and I need to find something that aligns with what I need to live.
Kirsten, can I talk about that for just a second? Because, career planning is a very big part of career planning and career management. Notice I'm separating the two and joining them when they need to be. Career planning is really about what you want to do, right? Career management really falls, the salary requirements are, you may have a career plan that says right now I'm an LVN and I'm an MA and I want to be an LVN. I have no experience as an LVN, right? So your time, and I know this is going to be a tough concept to accept, your experience as as a medical assistant may count for a little bit of what that LVN job is, but you may be asked to take a step back, right? There are some facilities that will say you have 4 years of experience as an MA, but you have no experience as an LVN. So I can't give you the top of the bandwidth, which is, so they call it a salary band. So they will have a salary band. I'm just using numbers. One's 75,000, the other one's 125,000. You have got so many years of medical assistant experience, but you have 0 experience as an LVN. They're going to start you at the lower level, which, although it's not likely to happen, but people who have made career transitions have, and I did this. I actually dropped $5,000 when I went from teaching to industry. So like Kirsten, we both come from the teaching background. So I actually took a little bit of a salary cut to make a job change in recruiting. But I knew that in the long run, my career plan and me managing that plan knew that I was going to be much further ahead within another 1 to 2 years. So you've got to take that into account. What can you afford to do given what you can do, what you want to do, and where you want to go, and what it's going to take you to get there? Does that make sense? Start chiming in. So Michael, start chiming in. Let's talk about some of these things and let's work through some of these steps while we're all together, because this is really critical information as a new graduate, or even if you've just graduated within the past 2 to 3 years. Does that make sense? Anybody at any point at any time? Back to you, Kirsten.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I saw Monica said yes. So I didn't know if she was going to speak or not.
It makes sense. Yes. Thank you, Monica. Shashan.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. Because I mean, you have to be able to think of what's the best for long term, but also what do you need at the moment. So kind of balancing those out is very important.
Yeah.
Next slide. Thank you. And so, like I talked about a little bit about time management and making sure you're not overwhelmed. We've kind of come up with this like job search by the 5s. So something to make it easy on you, especially if you're full-time job searching, or if you're like really, you're really dedicated to the job search. Sometimes if you're passively looking, the strategy might not work with your time schedule, depending on if you're working full-time or going to school. But this is for if you're just really driven to find a job and find a job soon. This is kind of what we've come up with, job search by the 5. So applying to 5 jobs each day, or at least 5 jobs each day. And that might, seem like a small amount to some people, large amount to others. But remember, you're making sure that you're taking time to read the job descriptions, making sure that you qualify, because sometimes there are requirements that are on there that you might not actually meet, depending on if they want somebody bilingual in a certain language, or with some different certifications. So making sure you read through the job description. And even if typically they say that the requirements, yes, you have to meet them, but if the job description, if it's talking about you must have, you know, year of healthcare experience and you've worked as a medical assistant for 7 to 8 months, I would say still apply, because, you know, you might also have some background, you know, with your externship and with other jobs that could, you know, qualify you. So, you know, don't always think that you have to meet every single thing to the T unless it is like the actual requirements. You know, try to reach out to 5 hiring managers and recruiters each day. And that sometimes can be hard depending on if you're on LinkedIn or if the positions are on LinkedIn or Indeed. But once you get going, you're going to be getting emails back from these hiring managers and recruiters, you know, reaching out to them and, you know, engaging with people on social media. That is where LinkedIn is really good for being able to be a networking site for in your profession, but you can also there's also tons of groups on Facebook. And if you guys want to put out in there, if you're looking on any social media, different type of social media for jobs, please put this in the chat. We've heard that people are finding jobs via LinkedIn and TikTok, and you know, just being able to like search outside the box is really great. So being able to engage on social media with the companies you want to work with and the people that are hiring is very important. And Lee, if you could just really quickly show this job activity organizer that we've created. This is something that is very useful when you are trying to organize yourself when you are applying for jobs. And this is something that we're going to email to you tomorrow, when we're going to email our survey about this webinar, and also the recording of this, so you have it for your reference. But this job activity organizer is really great to organize what jobs you're applying for, when you are following up. And I don't know if Lee has that here to show you or not, but being able
I actually don't. It's not popping up. So
okay,
Krista, if you have it.
I know I don't have it up on.
No, Krista. I know Krista has it.
Okay. Yeah. So Chris is going to share it here in a second, but I'm going to talk about how, you know, this really does help you. And it also does help when you might get a message from somebody that you didn't apply for, and it might be a spam, because let's face it, we're putting out our information out a lot when we're applying for jobs. Sometimes somebody might be able to get that and try to lure you into, you know, a scam job. So this is really important to be able to track the jobs you're applying for when you're following up. And, you know, if you've heard, you know, yes, you're moving on to the next round, no, you're not. It's just really good for you to keep track of where you're at with your applications. And if you've already applied for that job before and they've reposted it, and then download and save this document when you get it, and just keep it on your desktop. It's really easy. It's just really great to be able to keep track of that. And like I said, like, especially we were seeing more scam sites coming. So being able to go back and say, I did not apply for this job. You know, I'm not going to reply to these people. And this really does help keep you organized, and it feels less daunting when you kind of go search by the fives. If you're like just 5 jobs every day, reaching out to 5 hiring managers, and doing 5 social media engagements, you know, that really does kind of make it into a more manageable, especially if you're working. I always like to either, like, I think it's like Indeed, LinkedIn, like some of those sites, you can save a job. So like typically in the morning, you know, if I'm getting ready for work, if I was looking for a job, I'd be scrolling Indeed, and then being able to like heart or save a job for me to apply for later, just because at that time that was the only amount I could give of time, is just to like scroll through, see what I qualify for, and be able to bookmark it. So then later in the evening, you know, you're able to apply and take that time. So sorry, I'm trying to read this. This is usually when you can put new grads, you can't get a chance for an interview. There are some. Oh, here Krista is showing this, and this is what we've created. This is an Excel document, but you can also download it into Google Sheets, so it can be, so you don't have to actually have a Microsoft subscription or whatever. But this is really great. So you can put your application date, the company, the job title, position, the link to the one that you, the job that you applied for, and then you can put your notes, like, when you get an email back with them telling them that you've received the job application, when they reach out and say, we'd like to have you for next round, you can just keep your notes in there. And especially if you're interviewing, the one thing I always suggest to ask is at the end, it's like, how many more interview steps are there? Or, what will be the next steps? Just so you know, if there's going to be 5 more rounds of interview, you can put this in your notes, like, they said this, I've had first interview on this date, second interview on this date. So then and then you can you have more knowledge to help you in that whole interview process. And I don't know, when you put new grad, you might not be able to get an interview for certain places because they do want more experience. That's why, at the beginning I said to be flexible and to be able to, maybe go to a clinic or a facility that might not be your number one choice at the time, but then you're getting that experience in order to, in 6 months to a year, have that amazing experience, have those amazing references to go into the facility that you are, really wanting to be. It's, it's like a marathon, not a race. You want to make sure that you have your long-term goals, but you need to know what you need to do to get to those eventually.
And so that's the nice thing about working with the career coaching group, is that you can sit down and map out how you're going to get to where you want to be, right?
Mhm.
So trying to think this through inside your own head is too much. It's too daunting. You can't see the answer because you're in the thick of things and you're thinking about the economics and all this other stuff. Planning a career when you're in college or before you start your college program is all about, how am I going to hit the next step? The next step for you might be that externship or some type of an apprenticeship, and let's figure out where those things are. So the schools that you graduated from should have lists of places that allow that to happen. If not, come back to us and let's see how we can help you out with that. And I think that we should start in our community. So we have a Facebook community, we have a LinkedIn community. And I think that what we need to start doing, we are going to be partnering much more closely with Futuro Health in the coming weeks, days and months, actually, to talk about where these opportunities are. So let's get engaged, let's help our community, and let's drive these opportunities to one another. So how does that sound? Does that sound like would you be participative in something like that? If you had those kinds of links and opportunities, I'd be curious to see in the chat again what your thoughts are on that. Yeah, I think that would help, right, Gemma? Yeah.
From what I know of my grads, that's definitely something I'm sure that they would be interested in, because this is daunting. And it is nice to have a community to know that you're not the only one feeling this way. And, to be able to, discuss with each other and uplift each other is always great.
Yeah.
And then next slide, we'll go to Cisco, and thank you guys for listening to me talk.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. All right, so for the last, not the least, but we're going to be talking about, troubleshooting. What happens if, things don't go as planned, seek guidance. That's what we're here for, consider seeking guidance from one of your counselors, or any, other professionals in your field. We can definitely provide you guys with valuable advice, feedback, and support throughout this. We get it, it can be a little bit intimidating, overwhelming. Another thing, take a break, don't burn out from job search. Sometimes a little distance is key. Mental separation and activities will help you. We get it. Give yourself some grace. Sitting in front of the computer for a couple hours, applying can, be a little bit harsh, and, getting those rejection letters. I get it. We've all been there before. That's what we're here for too. We just reach out to us, seek guidance with us. And of course, take a break. Also network, network like we talked about before. And then if you guys join our previous webinars, networking within your guys' community, other Futuro Health graduates, or if you guys have LinkedIn, go into LinkedIn. There's other Futuro Health graduates in the Futuro Health LinkedIn page. So you guys can go ahead and follow. Maybe you'll find your other classmates. So that's another good way of also, setting out your boundaries and, doing the extra mile, because, we get it. we've all been there. And like I mentioned to you before, and we stressed to you guys in other webinars, we are here to help you guys and give you guys guidance and support. I think that's the last slide. Am I right?
Yep. And we've got about 10 minutes for questions. What other questions do we have? I do want to answer this question. Shashan, you have a real concern. The concern is I don't have experience, so I'm not getting my foot in the door. What have some of you on this call done to get your foot in that door and get an offer? And if you haven't, if you share the same experience as Shashan, tell us. And am I pronouncing your name correctly, Shashan? Shashan? I hope so. Okay, I am good. Okay.
Also, another thing I want to stress to you guys, some of us, most of you guys, you guys are same thing as Shansan, you guys don't have that experience, best alternative, reach out to some of these staffing agencies. There's some of these staffing agencies, that are looking for medical assistants just to get the door. Maybe you get placed at a facility that's at a hospital that is, short term. Maybe they end up offering you a position to stay at them. So it's always taking the extra step to see what you can do to progress in your career. So say, for example, you've been applying multiple places, Kaiser's not replying back to you, Common Spirit's not replying back to you. All right, let's reach out to one of us. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what's around your area. All right, there's maybe a staffing agency that's looking for medical assistants with no experience, or maybe take on a few weeks of a role, maybe some volunteer work. Anything that looks good that you can put on your resume that says that you have this experience, let's do it. Remember, we all got to start somewhere. Same with me with my career. I had to start very low. I had to take a pay cut too, just to be where I'm at too. And where I'm at now, I love the career that I ended up going for. So we've all been there, don't get discouraged, don't give up. That's why we were also created, to be a supporting guidance for you guys. So you guys got this, I promise.
Hi, Francisco. So this is Gemma, and thank you for everyone for all the explanation. I really like to enjoy, this type of meetings. But in my experience so far, I started to apply maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Okay.
far, like I put in my chat. I got one only interview, and I went to the third round. But after that, I didn't get anything back from them, and I wasn't sure if I could maybe reach out and ask, so how's everything? Please let me know if are you gonna continue to interviewing me, or I would like to know what I should do in that kind of cases, maybe for next time. And also, I've been applying to the companies that I would like Kaiser, Stanford, and most of them said that at least they're looking someone with at least 6 months of experience.
Yeah.
So far I have 1.5 years as a medical assistant, but it seems like it's difficult to navigate or to find, a place that I want to be.
You have 1.5 years of medical assisting experience, Gemma?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you've just opened up a world of opportunity for you right there. If you've got, yeah, we're all kind of frothing at the mouth now because that's very exciting to us. We actually have several clients who, only need 6 months of an experience. So here's the thing that I want you all to realize, that when you network and when you build that network, that is a huge part of career planning. Who you know now are the people that you are going to grow your career with over many decades. I still work with the same people that I worked with 20-some, 30-some years ago. So it is imperative that when you take a job, whether it is contract, whether it is full-time, that you stay connected to these people, because these people are going to give you your ins to other opportunities just like you would. So if you're not hearing back from an organization, reach out to the recruiter, and don't hesitate to reach out to the head of a department and say, I'm a medical assistant. I've just graduated and it is my hope and dream to be part of your organization. Right? Don't be afraid to pick up the phone, get an email out there, and leave a message if you have to. But let's start making connections, right? Because these connections are going to open up opportunities. If you've got 6 months of experience, and you've got a good reference behind you, you can name your tune.
Yeah.
And there's
But,
nothing wrong with
See,
following
everybody's
up.
excited that you got 6 months.
Well, and also there's nothing wrong after an interview. You always should send a thank you email, text, whichever way you were, talking to them. But also, waiting. That's why, like, always ask, like, when will I hear from you next?
right.
And what are the next steps? And then I would put a little note in my calendar. Follow up with them. They said they're going to tell me on Monday. Tuesday morning, if I haven't heard from them, just email, like, I'm super excited for this position. I haven't heard back from you. Can you please give me an update? There's nothing wrong with, showing good communication. You're not hounding them down. You're just following up because you are excited about that position.
And
okay,
by the
thank you.
way,
Yeah, I wasn't sure because I didn't want to sound, too much excited or like that I really wanted, so I wasn't sure if it would be a good idea or not to reach out after a week or something. But thank you.
no,
Yeah.
reach out, absolutely reach out. I
Always.
can also plant another seed. So for those of you who are just looking at the big hospitals, the big facilities, I want you to start thinking about the small facilities. Think about the what do they call them? Patient first, those kinds of facilities, small practices, private medical practices. Start reaching out to those organizations because they will train you because they can't afford people who have, extensive amounts of experience. And meanwhile, that's giving you a lot of a great experience. So, and I'm also going to suggest, I'm sorry, Cisco, one more thing. I'm also going to suggest that you look at government jobs. And when I say government jobs, I'm talking about CMS, Center for Medicaid and Medicare. And what are the other ones? Shockingly enough, I have a friend who started her career as an RN. She is now a nurse practitioner in a jail. She loves it. She loves it. So, think differently. Again, that's all part of career planning. And if you're not sure how to take that, how to think about that, talk to your coaches. Go ahead, Cisco. I'm sorry.
I even just I'm going to piggyback off what you just said. I put that in the chat. Everyone, Cal Careers, they also do have positions for medical assistant, just like Lee mentioned, that work for correctional officers. So that's another thing too, just like Lee mentioned, think about the smaller facilities. Not all of these facilities post on Indeed and ZipRecruiter because that actually costs money. So researching what facilities are around you, going to the website, viewing their email, looking up their phone number or their fax number, give them a call, send them an email, fax over your resume. That's another great way to get your name out there, because some of these facilities, they don't have the money to pay monthly to post on Indeed, because that's pretty costly.